All right, it's dry week starts in 2 hours.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean by the time this video releases?
Yeah.
So for us,
it's like 3 days from now, but welcome to Donation Day in the Whiskey Vault.
Yes, Donation Day. If you don't remember, basically these are going to be the more hard to find obscure whiskeys that people send in that definitely deserve some attention.
Yep.
Because every once in a while we find a diamond in the rough. Maybe you're actually able to get your hands on this, but it's not so available that it warrants an entire full episode just for that particular whiskey. What's the first one?
This one I'm excited about because it's Whiskey Del Bac, who we both like.
Oh yeah.
But it's their new make.
Now
their smoked new make.
Was this New Mexico, Nevada, Arizona? Where was
Arizona.
Okay.
Tucson.
Yes.
Smoked malt.
Okay.
Remember?
Yes.
Mesquite smoked malt?
Yes.
This is their new make, smoked malt.
Oh, let's compare. Oh,
yeah.
It's a donation.
I know, it's so
Do
much.
we have time to compare?
We do have time to compare that, I think.
Okay.
Okay, this is, by the way, a gift from Ross Carballo.
Ross Carballo, you magnificent bastard.
Okay, we'll start with...
Now, this is the smoked version?
Mm-hmm.
Do you not have it?
Well, I've got, like, the winter edition.
Okay.
Which I think is... But it has extra mesquite. So it might not be a direct one-to-one. I almost poured that into the new make.
Dude, immediately that smoke. You know what? The smoky element.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're standing next to a campfire.
Oh,
it is
yeah.
So
bright
raw,
and ashy and raw.
It's so raw and fresh, just like you're literally there.
Mixed with some really beautiful mid-fruit notes.
And it's a layer that has not combined and morphed and congealed with the other flavors at all. It's just a standalone, here's a smoke chunk. And then there may be some sweet elements.
Yeah, it's coating some slight fruity, just sugar sweetness.
It's interesting whenever smoky stuff is aged, it just marries. It marries with the flavors more often than not.
Oh,
but
yeah.
with this, there's no marriage on the nose.
This just tastes like straight up smoked grain.
You know,
I love it.
Yeah. I'm not... So
interesting.
I'm not pouring this. It's like, I feel like just to sit back and relax.
Oh, no. This is a struggle.
Right.
But that's why I like it. It's like, I can't figure out what to think about that.
Okay, so...
Here's the aged one. You drink it
the
first, because I woke up with a scratchy throat that I'm pretty sure is allergies. No, a big oak pollen is just flooding the city right now. And so everybody's allergies are kicking in. And for me, when that happens, I get a...
disease.
A tickle. It brings all the vanillas and honeys into it.
Caramel, too.
Yeah, see, I like this because I've always loved Whiskey Del Bac.
And this version, that smoky element is just woven throughout.
I've loved every Whiskey Del Bac I've tried, and this is the first time I've gotten to try the new make, and I love to get the chance to see what they decided is ready to wait and age.
Yeah, and so as you know, we're getting into the making of the tribe is voting on the creation of smoky whiskeys because of the freaking whiskey tribe. As we're getting into that, it's interesting to get your hands on smoky new make because it's relatively hard to get new make that has peaty, smoky, you know, that kind of stuff to it. And
it's hard to wrap your brain around.
It is, because it changes a lot. So as we're getting the smoky new make coming off, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't... And I keep comparing it to the hundreds of smoky whiskeys that have been aged for years and years and years. It's like, wait, this isn't like nuanced and complex and, you know, threads of earthiness. It's just a wham smoke note with maybe some sweet stuff floating in there.
Right.
But that's the nature of new make, I think. So I'll be curious to see how long we need to let that
sit before it
age
tones
and evolve.
down.
Age and evolve.
Typically in Texas, in small barrels and small barrels, it seems to be somewhere between 6 months to 2.5 years.
Okay.
And in big barrels, you can have a little bit longer, 2 years plus.
Yeah.
All right, this is Old Tom Whiskey Barrel Select. This is a gift from T.J. Doolittle.
T.J. Doolittle, you magnificent bastard.
This is sourced from Kentucky. I love how honest they were about this bottling. Sourced from Kentucky and perfected in South Carolina.
This is like incredibly light, and the color, I wouldn't say is gold or yellow as much as it is just a straight up peach color. Yeah.
It's 5-year-old bourbon, evidently.
5 years old.
Now the question is, when did they source it, and what did they select by the barrel. I mean, this is not a typical color for just a 5-year-old Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah.
So they've done something, and now it's proof down to 40%.
Okay.
I don't think they're selling this anymore.
Okay. So, this
Oh, no,
is...
they are.
This is very, very light. It's a perfumey, fruity water.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow, it's almost invisible.
Perfumey.
Maybe it's because we just drank Mesquite peated new make.
No,
but this is invisible.
I tasted it relatively early. I'm like a couple of minutes from that, and it's very, very light. I'm getting some of on the nose, some bourbon oak and a little bit of brown sugar. But then on the taste, it's like a watered, perfumey, fruity thing.
The nose is as perfumey as you would think.
I would be if we had the proof tester up here. I'd be tempted to test it.
Just to see if it's under 40?
Just to see if it's under 40. It feels like it's under 40.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Well, I'm moving on from that one. Okay, now this one is interesting. This one is going to lead to a great tagline for this bourbon, which I don't think they're releasing anymore.
Already on the nose, so much more rich.
This is a blend of rye and barley. Yeah. Or, I mean, not barley. Rye and bourbon. A bourbon, right, aged one on one hand, and a rye aged, and then they blended them together.
Is there a barley in this in a meaningful...
Well, I mean, there's got to be some kind of malted, but probably not in a meaningful level.
I'm smelling...
by the people that looked it up, there's roughly 10% barley in each of the batches.
Okay, no,
But when you blend that bourbon and rye...
Okay.
You get something interesting.
Yeah. Well, to me, it presented as a very malty kind of nose.
Oh, that's great. It's got all of that sweet kind of dusty wood note and cherry of a good bourbon, but it's got this little bit of a hint of rye spiciness.
It shifts gears right in the middle in a really interesting way.
Yeah.
We got cinnamon and cherry right there, that brown sugar. And here's the thing. If it ever sounds like some of our bourbon tasting notes are
all the same,
remarkably similar,
because they all taste remarkably similar.
Not all, but because there's a lot of bourbons that are remarkably similar,
and just hitting that middle sweet spot.
We're never going to switch up the notes that we're getting just to try and make it different than something else, because it was like, if it's similar, it's similar. We're going to tell you it's similar. But the things that are unique to me aren't the notes, because it's going to be the classic brown sugar and the cherry and a little bit of the apple in there. It's halfway through. This shifts into a really nice cinnamon ding for me.
Yeah.
Halfway through on the taste, shifts in a nice little bit of oak in there. I like that.
I like this a lot. So I don't think they're selling this anymore. What happened was they were sourcing whiskeys, and then in 2018 they got bought by a group of local Oklahomans.
Yeah.
And now they've removed aged spirits from their website list. So I think this is sourced, right?
Yeah.
I think they're trying to switch to making their own stuff.
Fair enough, yeah.
And so they've pulled this off the list.
Yeah, tons of distilleries do that. They source until they have their own stuff ready.
Or they start new make until it's ready.
Retailed for $25.
Yeah.
50% alcohol. This, when it was available.
Oh, yeah.
That was a pretty damn good deal.
That could have been a go-to.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you my favorite thing on the back of the bottle is, and it's going to give me my nickname for this bottle from now on. You ready? So it says, we age ours separately in level 5 char to fully capture the mash bill, right?
Level 5, that's
char levels. Well, here's why I love this.
Yeah.
Char levels are typically measured on a scale from level 1 to level 4. We char ours to level 5, 1 level darker. And you know what that reminds me of?
Right.
Spinal Tap. So I'm like, see, the difference between everyone else's amps and all amps is that all amps go to 11. and then Rob Ryder's like, well, why don't you just make 10 louder? And he's like, well, but ours go to 11. So this...
They took it to 11.
This is the Spinal Tap of bourbon.
Yeah.
Because they took it to level 5,
they took
1 level darker.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with label stories as long as people know. Yeah, this is tongue-in-cheek.
Yes.
Yeah. But
the fact, I wouldn't have thought it tongue-in-cheek until they added 1 level darker. So either someone has a beautiful sense of humor, or they didn't realize that's funny.
Right.
I prefer to think
either way
that someone knew what they were doing, and they were like, just wait. one level darker.
And then in parentheses it says, read in an English accent.
Yeah. One level darker.
Regardless, that
love it.
Is a nice bourbon.
I'm all in on that one.
What was that, a bourbon or just a whiskey?
But it's just a whiskey because it's a blend.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they probably actually had to file this as a recipe.
Yeah.
So it would have been a blend of straight bourbon and rye whiskeys was the recipe.
Now this is one of the whiskeys where after you've sipped for a while and then you go back to the nose, it starts to reveal new things that you didn't pick up the first time.
Oh yeah, because I'm betting as you add water or let that rest, it's going to open up all these.
I'm getting some floral notes and then a little touch of vanilla on the nose now. What's the next one?
Next one is Cooper's Chase, a gift from Christopher Jarman.
Christopher Jarman, you magnificent bastard!
And he's starting to grow his list of donations, but this one dates back to August.
Yeah. Because
we're still in August.
When are we announcing the date for the next gathering of the community here in Austin?
As soon as I get the last confirmation from a couple of distillers that they can make it.
Okay.
So far of the 14 that were here last year, 11 have said they're all in.
Awesome.
And so
we can find other distillers.
No, we can. I just wanted to give them time.
Right.
Actually, my last email to them said you have 1 month to reply to this, and then we're going to open up the invitation to somebody else. And swap your table out.
Sure. Fair enough.
Okay. So this is Nebraska. Now here's the thing. Let's take a pause right now because Nebraska is basically underwater. The whole damn state. It's having the worst floods in almost the entire history of Nebraska.
Okay.
They've declared multiple emergencies across the whole state.
I was unaware.
Something like, I can't remember what the number was, but it was like 70 to 80% of Nebraska is flooded right now.
Wow.
Whole towns have been wiped out. What happened was they had a bigger than average snowfall.
Yeah.
And then they had an unusually early snow melt. And so all of this snow, and remember, Nebraska has a crazy amount of rivers.
Okay.
All this snow melt came down, overflowed almost every river in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Now these guys, I don't know anything about them, and they're babies as far as it's just one guy making whiskey. And they're doing small 100-gallon still bourbon batches. They're making their own stuff.
Yeah.
But they're right next to the Elkhorn River.
Okay.
And there's a very real chance that they might be impacted by this flood. So I emailed the owner this morning and just said, hey, because I called him and he didn't answer. Hey, if there's any way, if you guys are affected by the floods and there's any way we can get our people to help, let us know. So if that happens, we'll put it in the description. And then I'll probably post it to Facebook or something. But this is Cooper's Chase. This is a distillery in Nebraska, in West Point, Nebraska.
And so I said, perfumey on an earlier whiskey.
Yeah.
This is perfumey.
It's a different kind of perfumey though. This is a
but here's
this
why.
is like a dense old lady perfumey.
This though, mad respect for the amount of nose coming out of this thing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Because it's 40%.
They did proof it down to 40.
This is 40%, and what you're picking up, I haven't tasted yet, what you're picking up on the smell is rich and intense and lovely.
It's very almost floral.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, instead of fruity,
it's less classic bourbon, leaning towards the floral elements you often find. I said leaning, not squarely in. Leaning towards the floral elements you often find in like Speyside.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is weird.
Okay.
Because when I see bourbon, I'm not expecting
No. This is
barley floral.
This is taking, on the nose at least, taking a step outside the lines of what, classic bourbon notes are.
Dude.
Light and delicate, honey, floral.
You know what this tastes like? It tastes like a really quality done Scotch blend, unpeated Scotch blend.
Unpeated Scotch blend. Okay.
Yeah, all the butterscotch and honey notes. So this weird dusty malt note.
Light and delicate because I think because of the proof is low.
Yeah.
But the flavors are
it's very rich.
It's for 40%. For 40%, it's rich. But the flavors are not classic bourbon. They're
really not.
They're just really nice though.
It's very much in like honeysuckle flowers.
Yeah.
Like you remember when honeysuckle really starts to bloom in the first part of the year, and then you walk by those bushes and you're just overwhelmed with this dense honeysuckle.
You know what?
Sweetness.
We got all the wildflowers kicking into gear right now here in Texas. The bluebonnets. You can go through the paths on campus and
you can smell it.
Yeah.
Dude, this is
Getting a little...
This is great. I would
vanilla.
love to try the cask version of this.
So, yeah. But for an easy sipper that has some nuance, the flavors are present.
Dude, if this is what he's making, he should be proud.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, this is good shit. I dig it.
I just wish it was higher proof.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah. It's rare to find a 40% whiskey where you're like, yep, that's where it should be. It is amazing. It happens. But more often than not, you hit that 40% and you just want a little bit more. Not necessarily cask strength, because I know there's a lot of people who's like, cask strength or nothing. It's like, no, there's a lot of whiskeys out there that need to be taken to an optimal level to get just the best, most enjoyable flavors, in my opinion. It's an opinion. And that's not always cask strength, but even more rare, you're landing at 40%, and that's where it should be.
This is from Ross Carballo again.
Ross Carballo, you magnificent bastard!
And this is a brewery, Santan Distilling.
Okay.
That, as far as I can figure, I think it was about 2010.
Yeah.
They expanded into distilling.
Okay.
Right, sort of like real spirits.
Yeah.
Coming out of real ale
Right.
here in Texas. So, the distiller for this is Brant Gasparic, which I hope I'm getting that name right. And it's in Arizona. Right, Santan Brewery.
Right.
And they are doing their own distillation in a pot still.
Okay.
That they created.
Sure.
And they're aging at least 6 months in Arizona wine casks.
Ooh, pot still, wine casks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when I pick this up, I immediately get that slight musty,
45%. 45%.
slight leather note, but surrounded by a sweet note that I can't really pinpoint.
Ah, there is that.
You see what I mean?
No,
it's
so
there.
It's not young, sour, weird leather though. It's for me. It's an aged, nice sofa.
Yeah.
You sit down.
It's like it smells like a really good sofa.
Yeah.
That someone spilled wine on.
Yeah. And then you don't want to waste it, so you're just going.
I hope no one had headphones on during that moment.
I need a straw. Stat. Okay. So this is
This is a really sweet
yes,
nose.
sweet and 45%.
Like juice sweet.
Again, I don't. What did you say this was? This was a single malt. Okay, all right. I was for a moment I think surely this isn't a bourbon.
No.
That would be 2 in a row that are outside classic bourbon. This is single malt, and the maltiness. So here's the thing.
Oh! Try it. Try it first.
All right, before I try though,
Yes.
there is a sweetness that comes with maltiness.
Yeah.
I think the sweetness
Well,
is
there's a roundness to the sweetness. that comes with
intrinsic
malt.
to that malt.
Yeah.
I think that's where the sweetness is coming from.
The taste, it just jumps out with interesting kind of pipe tobacco notes. It gets way more interesting than you thought you were going to get from the nose.
There's is that a sweet caramel coffee?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is batch number 1-005, date 5/13/18, and I would say that this is one of the first times I've ever thought that the taste exceeded the nose. Well, the nose is good, but the taste is much more complex and interesting than the nose.
Yeah, I'm getting
which is weird.
dark fruit,
Yeah.
some raisins, some figs almost.
It's hard to find that on the nose until you've tasted it. Then you've tasted it and you're getting some of the scent from your throat.
with vanilla.
Yeah.
With
But
vanilla.
the nose changes after you've tasted it.
The finish for me is all these really nice nuanced things, and then you just get this lovely vanilla just landing strip.
I'm adding a little bit of water. Just because I'm interested to see if I can get the nose to jump out.
So I'm gonna say,
Yeah, it worked. Smell that.
yeah, I'm gonna say this is one of the more complex and nuanced whiskeys I've had in a long time. Single
Yeah.
malt coming out of the States.
Because I'm still trying to figure it out.
Single malt coming out of the States. There's a lot going on here on the taste. The nose is nice.
Okay, so let's be honest.
And now we're getting...
I was prepared to not be impressed. And I have no idea why. It was a prejudgment, it was a snobby prejudgment
Okay.
of a brewery coming out of, a brewery ending up in a distillery.
Oh, no, that was why. Because, so, in the early days of reviewing I think we had several whiskeys back to back coming out of breweries.
Yeah, and they were...
And it was several in a row, and we were starting to reach this conclusion that, man, if whiskey is an afterthought, the chances of it being good, because you're spending most of your time and energy into brewing.
Right.
If whiskey is an afterthought, it tastes kind of like an afterthought.
It does. It really does.
But then, a few months ago, we started getting exceptions to that.
Yes.
And we've had, at this point, several exceptions.
Yeah,
This
Real Spirits is one of those.
Absolutely an exception. The Sacred Stave. This is really beautifully complex. The sweet malty note. You get the aged leather on the nose. Then you get in there and you have like these dark fruits and just a lot going on. And every time you go back to it, it's slightly different. It is the definition of an interesting and complex whiskey that maintains your attention. That keeps your attention.
I wish there was an age statement on this, because I'd be really interested to find out how long it took them to get to this complexity. Mm-hmm. Because this is surprisingly beautiful.
And then there's that sweetened caramel coffee.
And it's like a dark caramel.
It's beautiful.
Right?
Beautiful. I love that.
All right, and that brings us to the end of donation day.
Oh.
And that means we're only a few hour-ish away from Dry Week. Starts right now at noon, today at noon, and ends next Friday at noon.
Yep.
And we will see you on the other side.
Yeah, we'll be doing episodes about non-whiskey things. We'll figure it out. Here's to fighting, stealing, and drinking.
If you fight me, a fight for a friend.
You steal, may you steal a lover's heart.
And if you drink, may you drink with us.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us in the Whiskey Vault. Don't forget to throw in a like, hit that subscribe button on the bottom right, and drop a question or comment down below.